Hey, what's up, guys? You're now listening to Devo with Uncle Theo. Today is day 243, and we're going to finish up Lamentations. We're going to cover chapters 3 through 5. Now, as we discussed yesterday, the exile is happening, and Jeremiah is experiencing it, and he's seeing all of the atrocities of the exile, and he's mourning. We talked about this basically picks up where chapter 52 leaves off. And we're going to read about some more of those difficult experiences that Jeremiah saw and witnessed through this captivity. And at the very center of this book, in chapter 3, verse 1, we get an interesting statement. Listen to what he says. He says, I am the man who has seen affliction. And it's, who are you that has seen affliction? Because of the rod of his wrath, he has driven me and made me walk in the darkness and not in the light. Surely against me he has turned his hand repeatedly all the day. He has caused my flesh and my skin to waste away. He has broken my bones. He has besieged and encompassed me with bitterness and hardship. And it's interesting, Jeremiah has shifted and is talking about himself. And it's interesting also how this points to Christ. In dark places, he has made me dwell, like those who have long been dead. He has walked me in so that I cannot go out. He has made my chain heavy. Even when I cry out and call for help, he shuts out my prayer. He has blocked my ways with hewn stone. He has made my paths crooked. He is to me like a bear lying in wait, like a lion in secret places. He has turned aside my ways and torn me to pieces. He has made me desolate. It's an interesting statement here. It says he has shut out my prayer. And it's interesting how God is not hearing Jeremiah's prayer because he's sinful. He's not hearing Jeremiah's prayer because Israel is sinful. Not even Jeremiah's prayers can turn this around, can reverse this. God must justly deal with sin. It says he has filled me with bitterness. He has made me drunk with wormwood. He has broken my teeth with gravel. He has made me cower in the dust. My soul has been rejected from peace. I have forgotten happiness. So I say my strength has perished. And then we get to the most famous passage. It says, remember my affliction and my wandering, the wormwood and the bitterness. Surely my soul remembers and is bowed down within me. This I recall to my mind. Therefore I have hope. The Lord's loving kindness indeed never cease. That's our word, chesed. So think about that. God is allowing this to happen because of his loving kindness, because of his covenant love and his loyal love. It says his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I have hope in him. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the person who seeks him. It is good that he waits silently for the salvation of the Lord. It is good for man that he should bear the yoke of his youth. Let him sit alone and be silent, since he has laid it on him. Let him put his mouth in dust. Perhaps there is hope. Let him give his cheek to the smiter. Let him be filled with reproach. For the Lord will not reject forever. For if he causes grief, then he will have compassion according to his abundant loving kindness. Now think about this. In the middle of exile, in the middle of persecution and affliction, them being carried off into captivity, Jeremiah, the weeping prophet, is lamenting, and he comes to this conclusion. Wow, God, you're faithful. You're faithful to fulfill the blessings and curses of Deuteronomy. You said that we will be blessed if we were to do these things. And you said we will be cursed if we were to do these things. And we've been disobedient. And because of that disobedience, you fulfilled what you said you would do. You cursed us. Great is your faithfulness. You do what you say you're going to do, God. And I'm seeing all of these horrors because you are faithfully carrying out your word. And that just brings so much depth to the hymn, great is thy faithfulness, because think about the context in which those words are penned. And the reason, verse 40, let us examine and probe our ways, and let us return to the Lord. We lift up our heart and hands towards God in heaven. We have transgressed and rebelled. You have not pardoned. You have covered yourself with anger. And that's the reason. It's because of their sin, and it's because they have not examined their ways and returned to the Lord. And God will deal justly, and God will deal faithfully. And this chapter ends with verse 66. You will pursue them in anger and destroy them. from under the heavens of the Lord. And we wrap up with chapters 4 and 5. Chapter 4 continues to describe the depths of this captivity. Jeremiah in verse 6 says, the punishment of my people is greater than that of Sodom. Think about that, back from Genesis 19, which was overthrown in a moment without a hand turned to help her. So Jeremiah is saying our sin is greater than those who are in Sodom. And this was what it has reduced the people to. Listen to verses 10 and 11. The hands of compassionate women boiled their own children. They became food for them. Because of the destruction of the daughter of my people, the Lord has accomplished his wrath. He has poured out his fierce anger, and he has kindled a fire in Zion, which has consumed its foundation. And it's interesting, you see a shift in the pronouns. Isaiah starts to shift to we and our. In verse 17, it says, looking for help was useless. In our watching, we have watched. For a nation that could not save, they hunted our steps so that we could not walk in our streets. Our end drew near, our days were finished, for our end has come. Our pursuers were swifter than the eagles of the sky. They chased us on mountains, and they waited in ambush for us in the wilderness. The breath of our nostrils, the Lord's anointed, was captured in pits. And you see that language where the weeping prophet is now a part of this captivity and linked into this captivity with his people. And this lamenting ends with a prayer. In chapter 5, it says, remember, O Lord, what has befallen us. Look and see our reproach. Our fathers sin and are no more. It is we who have borne their iniquities. And he ends with hope. He says, you, O Lord, rule forever. Your throne is from generation to generation. Why do you forget us forever? Why do you forsake us so long? Restore us to you, O Lord, that we may be restored. Renew our days as of old, unless you have utterly rejected us and are exceedingly angry with us. He's asking to renew our days of old. That new covenant that Jeremiah mentioned in Jeremiah 31 and that Isaiah mentioned, Jeremiah is saying, we need you to renew us, O Lord, and we need you to restore us to the days of old, just like you gave us an exodus out of the exile in days former. We need that to happen again. And as we close up with the books of Jeremiah, you see Israel's glory days and now their worst days. They're in slavery again. They've gone back to where they came from. Abraham came from Babylon. Now they're back in Babylon. God took them back where they came from because of their disobedience. But Jeremiah ends this lament with a prayer of hope. Although they have to submit to God's will, a God who tears down and a God who builds up. And see, we can't become a people that just preach about the sovereignty of God and his will during difficult times. We have to submit to it. And this is what is being taught in this book of Lamentations. To submit to God's will, for he is committed to our welfare. And he truly does have plans of peace and not for calamity, to give us a hope and a future. But remember, it's all contingent on how you align with Jesus Christ. Will you align with the suffering servant rightly? Commune with him for the rest of your life. Because remember, he will listen to you when you seek him with all your heart, and he promises to make himself available to you and allow himself to be found by you. Let's close it off here, and we'll pick up tomorrow in another one of our prophets who had to go through it as well, the book of Ezekiel. Catch you guys next time. You guys take care. Have a good day.